Hello there.
How's it going?
How are you?
I'm doing okay. I was just looking for because I was just looking for the drive. Remember, I said I would help with and I was like, what happened to it? Where'd it go?
Oh,
I didn't send it because the way my attachment's been working, it was weird. Like it wasn't like a live document. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should. Anyway, I had a bunch of
d-
back and forth with it because I don't know if you remember, I sent the original memo request. I had attached it, so I was just gonna update that and then make a toolkit. And I had one, but I didn't like how it was looking, so I figured we could talk about it. But
yeah,
now
I
I'm
did
looking
look at
for it.
what you. I looked at what you sent. You use Google Docs? Were you
Yeah,
using?
I typically do use Google Docs. Yeah, but I don't think I did at that one. You mean the memo, the one I sent a while ago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't in Google Docs. But one of the things I did notice was when I tried to open that in Google Docs, it reformats the whole thing.
Yeah,
So,
these
so
things
it's
they
yeah,
just make it so hard. They compete with each other so bad and they make it so hard. And it's like everybody is not gonna have the same system, people.
yeah. So I don't know if it's in a PDF format. I think it's safe because
It's
it
fine.
blocks it. Yeah. So anyway, so that's what we have right now in uh
Oh, that's true. I could do
that store.
PDF and then just
Yeah.
keep a regular editable version and then yeah, but anyway, before business, how you coming into the space? How was your week?
Oh, good, good, good. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, that was quite a task though, getting that done. And I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so
Oh my God, I was looking at it, I was like, geez, I didn't know you was gonna like you did a good job.
well, for me, there's this the commission asked for this 2 years ago. And we asked for it even before that. I mean, it's very crystal clear that you can't do anything without a plan.
You really can't.
So I think this was really, really important. And one of the things too that I love is your checklist because there is really nothing to get from one place to the next without that checklist.
I know, I know.
And
And
we can share that with OPD and say, look, here's where we are right now. And this is what we need to do to get to the next place. I mean,
mhm.
I'm going to have a meeting in 2 weeks right before I leave. I'm going to have a meeting with some of the folks that I've talked to about at least temporarily being on the advisory committee
Okay.
because
Are you leaving for sure? Can they extend your time at all? Or you're like,
oh,
I'm done?
I'm sure they would love to extend my time. However, I did 6 months more than I intended.
Yeah.
And while I love this work, at some point I have to draw the line. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, seriously.
So anyway, I don't know. I actually kind of talked to DC Osmus and told her that I'm willing to do, some things with you guys, as long as the police commission's involved. I'm willing to do some things like make sure these policies get finished as a volunteer. Because I
Mhm.
think that's the next thing that's really, really important is those policies need to be completed, and we need to have your support to get them through because that's another thing that
And
has
we could
not been done.
prioritize that. I mean, I know the commission prior to me asked for the strategic plan, but some of that's in there, it's great, but it's just not in our purview. And I know, Commissioner Farmer like is very detailed and very
Mhm.
thorough. So it's great. And some of it is just, oh, he said he'll be there ASAP. Okay.
Oh,
You know, is great, and we just have to be sure because we get a lot of criticism. I'm like, that's not for you to do, blah blah blah.
mhm.
Oh no, it sounds looks like he might have had car troubles. But he'll be no worries. I'll just tell him no worries.
Aw, really?
But Yeah, so I'm like, well, we can, support the strategic plan and do all of that stuff and look at it and share it, but everything we're not going to be able to check on because it's not our lane. But it is helpful to have eyes on the plan. And then to your point, what policies do we need to prioritize? Take it from the mental health ad hoc to the policy ad hoc, whatever we need to do. But that's definitely one of my priorities too, because I'm like, that's what we need to see. Like, one of the ones we requested that's not related to mental health is the sexual harassment
Oh, yeah,
outside,
I saw
outside
that.
of employees. And I had already requested that a while ago because I'm like, officers need to know how to treat the what sexual harassment can look like, which blurs the lines when you are at work and it's not an employee because you have a
Mhm.
responsibility. And we don't want
Absolutely.
officers to be unclear and then feel penalized when they were unclear.
And one thing I can tell you as a matter of fact, and that I have seen as something very consistent since I've been here, anyway, the 12 years I've been here, and that is that the administration, no matter who it is, they take those policies very seriously.
Yeah.
So they carry a lot of weight, and so
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes them, very, very important.
That makes sense. That makes sense. As we all should. Like we create these policies for a reason, and
Yeah.
they do have leverage. So that's good. Yeah, I was just looking at it again, like, what the heck? And I was looking for I can't remember the email I sent you. Did I send you a draft checklist? The one from a while ago, not from our last meeting, but
No, it was
before
a
we
while
talked
ago.
about it. It was
Yeah,
just
it was a
that
while
one.
ago. And I just kind of like expanded on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I did was I just kind of made it apply to this, what we
Okay.
do with this. Yeah. Because I guess they're kind of basically all the same when you're talking about trying to achieve something. It's like, so anyway, and I know that we don't like because of the NSA, I guess, those, the idea, I never use the word compliance. I think yours had the word compliance in it. I never use that word because one of the things that I have to tell you is that I have really enjoyed working with the two of you.
Oh,
And I didn't know what to expect. I mean, seriously, but I think we have done some really good work here. And so having
yeah.
having where we actually are with the wellness program
Mm-hmm.
is a really important thing.
It feels really
And
good to me, even though I wish I could do a lot more. I've been so busy, but it feels so important for us to know where we are.
now to go from here too, the same with the policies. To go from here, I mean, I could have done this and just, left it. I mean, okay, so here it is. Here, you guys, I'm leaving. Here's a blueprint for whoever comes in next, which would not have meant that much. But knowing, and I know what you're saying about some things not being in your purview and that kind of thing, but the idea that you're aware and supporting it, I think that's what's really important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and there is some, and you guys do carry a lot of weight. And to say that, yes, this exists, this strategic plan exists, this checklist exists, I
Yeah.
vetted every single one of those resources and funding sources. I vetted every single one because I already had that document, but it hadn't been updated for 3 years. So I went
Mm-hmm.
back and
Mm-hmm.
vetted those sources and added a few other things. And uh, Commissioner Farmer gave me a couple of resources too. So all of that is when you look at that and look at the possibilities, and that's not everything. I mean, that's just, that's the immediate. When you look at the possibilities, I'm sorry, I don't, I don't see any reason that we should say we don't have the money
Right.
because we can find. And personnel is really hard. It's really hard to find money for personnel. It's not hard, but it's more difficult to find money for personnel. But it isn't for programming and operational costs and that kind of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
that was, and we have people here that, took a grants class. I had a guy come in. I think I told you I had a guy come in from NYU and do a 5-week grants class for us. And so I will share that with them as well. But of course, the snag is that there isn't a grants coordinator. And it really doesn't do a lot of good to, I mean, I will just say it, to get grants when you don't have the wherewithal to properly manage it and all of that.
Right. I
So,
mean, that's the truth.
so
And
that
it's
isn't, I will advocate for that position until I walk out the door because I think it's so important. And I mean, that and a contracts person. I mean, we're in the same situation with contracts, but I don't
like
know.
there's not a contracts person to manage the contracts that you all get, like the external contracts.
Or even to carry us through the process, and say, okay, this is what we need to do. And I know that, or at least I've heard, I don't know that this is true, that the contracts office is revamping. I don't know what that means, but I do know, and I think I shared this with you before, the last contract I worked on took almost 7 months. And this was a person who was already working for us. So, or with us. So that's, it's a problem. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did you notice too, and I wanted to discuss this with you both.
Okay.
We talked about the position, having the importance of having someone sworn in the wellness unit. And for all those reasons that I put in in that personnel, that appendix on personnel, the training, the networking with officers, uh, as much as we like to believe that we're all in this together, there is definitely a difference between sworn staff and professional staff. There's, it's just, the duties are different, the environment is different, the stress levels are different, and depending on where we are, because if you're in the lab, processing homicide, evidence, that's a pretty traumatic thing to do as well.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
there is, when these folks go through the academy, there is a certain camaraderie that develops, just like, when if you go to college and it's like a fraternity or sorority, it's kind of like that.
Right,
So
right.
it just is, I really, really
If it's
think
not a
it's,
sworn person in there, it's not going to get the same level of respect.
yes, and you're not going to know the same people either,
Mm, mm-hmm.
because if you're out on the street and patrol where everybody seems to start out, if you're out there, you are developing a certain relationship with people and you get to know them. And even with 600 people in uniform, you still, they know each other, and
Mm-hmm.
they also know who they can trust and who has good leadership skills and all those things. Example, Felicia Cervantes. She is coordinating critical incidents and peer support, and she is so good. And if she calls someone, she's a sergeant. If she calls someone and says, could you, they do, could you just give a call to so and so and check on them? Maybe somebody had
Mm-hmm.
surgery or something like that, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows the person to call that will make it comfortable for whoever they are calling. If they need something in dispatch, she knows who to call to, a couple peer support people and say, just go out there and have a
Mm-hmm.
chat, check on them,
Mm-hmm.
take them a sandwich, whatever. But she is that person. professional staff, we do not know that. And I consider the PETs, the crime scene techs, and the dispatchers, I consider them sworn. I mean, I consider them uniformed. So they're uniformed professional staff. That's a whole nother, that's kind of in between the two. But I'm saying all that to say that the importance of having a person, and I only put that in as part-time because I know, I'm thinking budget, budget, budget. But I think it's critical to have at least a part-time officer in there. So that's why that is in there. And yeah, I put it in as a sergeant's.
Let me go look at it. What page was that one on? Let me find it. I had it
Look
up.
in the best place to well, that's in the it's in the personnel piece. And then it's also, if you look at the appendices, the cost is in the budget, where the budget is here. I'm gonna just, let me pull this up.
I could share it. Oh yeah, you're gonna share it.
Okay.
All right. I have it pulled up. So.
Okay. So the cost is it's in the personnel part, right at the top of the budget.
Let me see if I can figure out how to share it. Hold on.
Yeah, there's just right at the top of the screen, there's a.
I want to, all my windows. I got so many windows open. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Word document. There goes finance strategic. This, okay.
So yeah, it's a table.
I think it's here.
There it is. Yeah. So you can see the cost there. That's at sergeant's pay. Well, that came out a little strange.
Which one?
But it's sergeant. It's the part-time employee police wellness officer.
Oh, right here.
Yeah. So that's
at the sergeant's rate. I see.
Yeah, and it's half time. So it'd be 50% of the time would be that person. But now go down to appendix B.
Appendix B.
Appendix B, yeah, and you'll see what the duties kind of are. Or C, I'm sorry, B is C.
Personnel.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go to the police officers all the way at the bottom. Okay, so look at what the duties are. I mean, in addition to what you would, I mean, a lot of this is training.
For a police officer, presentation of academy, CPT, and CE wellness training.
So that LD 14 is the academy. LD 113 is dispatch training, which of course those are all required. And then continuing education. CPE is that trauma training.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that in itself, I mean, having someone sworn teaching that I think is extremely important.
I see what you mean. You're saying like this would be their responsibility to teach these things. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
So then, I mean, it makes sense that it's like a sworn officer to teach these things.
Coordination of peer support, coordination of critical incident response program and teams. I mean, the coordination of the critical incident, even peer support, can't be done by professional staff.
How does it happen? How does it happen now? Hold on, sorry, I'm gonna turn this thing off. Dinner. How is it the training happening now?
Right now, it's the training part of it is being done by two people actually in training, and one person is, and we had another officer who isn't with us anymore. She was doing the training, and we have a crime scene tech doing the training. So it's kind of, like different people, different places. And then the coordination of peer support is being done by Sergeant Cervantes. And the coordination of the critical incidents, which is, it's a lot more than just the coordination of it. I mean, you're managing the staff, you're managing the needs of the staff, meaning the peer support staff, the critical incident teams, you're managing them, you're managing their training, you're making sure that they, meet the standards that, we set forth and post sets forth to do those, to be in those positions.
Mm-hmm.
You're managing the data, how are things working, how many, I remember you asking that right at the beginning about if we were keeping track of data for peers or for critical incidents. I think that was a
Mm-hmm.
specific one you asked about. And so that person has to do, I mean, it's a lot really. And the only way to know, and critical incidents especially, I think it's really important um, that we're on top of that, you know?
I think so too. It's very like we should track it. Like we should definitely track. And honestly, I think that they should track do 3 months, 6 month, yearly, like if like these kind of things. Exposure doesn't automatically mean a diagnosis, but over time, other keeping track, like I imagine from my own experience with officers, depending on where you are, if you're in East Oakland, you're going to have potentially more critical incidents than in another neighborhood, right? And so
Right.
how does that impact your well-being, and how does that determine, how do you guys shift, cover or do overtime or switch and get in rotation into different territories or all of that kind of stuff? Like it might be a preference too, like people stay where they are and you get used to it. And I think that's an important part of community policing, to be able to see and know the officers that are in your neighborhoods. But I think it's also important to track, especially those type of critical incidents. It's no
And
different
we,
than they track and train like vicarious trauma now for like ambulance drivers, because they see a lot of stuff, even though they're there
yeah,
to help. Yeah.
yeah, I could never do that job. Whew. And I know that, well, DC Osmus, that's how she started out as an EMT. So yeah, I'm sure she has a lot of stories,
Oh my
um,
goodness. I know. DC is so
but
sweet.
Uh, really. But one of the things too that I think that we miss is that the data we need to collect needs to be quantitative as well as qualitative. So, yeah, the qualitative data, okay, to say after a training you gave people a survey and asked them
Right.
what, that's fine. I mean, yeah, we need to know
Right.
how we're doing in that sense. But we also need to know, are we using less sick days because we have a wellness program, which we should be. If we're doing things right, we should see a difference in things like sick leave, in things like yeah, administrative leave,
Right, especially
workers'
administrative leave,
comp.
because mental health leave or other things that's coming up, maybe lower discipline even, right? Like if you
Right. Yes.
are scattered, you're gonna make anybody under stress can make a bad decision.
Yes. Yes.
And
And
so
so then,
compounded stress is, a hard thing.
and
Chronic
and
stress.
and I just found out doing this work too that I learned something I think really really important, and that is PTSD. I will never call it PTSD again. I will call it PTSI, because that makes so much sense that it's an injury. And we take that and we call it a disorder, but it isn't a disorder. It's an injury that needs to be addressed. And that was like, so enlightening for me, because I thought, yeah, I look at that completely differently now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's an injury. We need to address it, just like if your arm is broken. You would,
And
that's what he,
and I don't know if I said it here, but I was doing a training a few months ago. These last few months I was doing a training on conflict and trauma and when you have traumatic experiences, you kind of have a story, right? Like we all have a story, we all have a narrative, we all have a way we move through the world with our own operating beliefs. And in reality, once you have something like PTSD or even a number of traumatic experiences and you haven't worked on it, then there is this way in which you move through the world just inherently feeling unsafe. You can, right? Or you personalize
Makes
things.
sense.
And then when you personalize things as if someone's behavior is an intentional slight or harm against you, that causes a lot of conflict. And one of the things I was saying, and this training was specific in a room full of therapists, was you are responsible for your own triggers. Like I
Mhm.
can't know what Barbara's triggers are. There's no way I'm gonna know it. And even if you told me, hey, Shawana, I'm triggered when you hold your glass that way, like that's a trigger for me. It is not for me to manage that. Like I can't
Yeah.
manage that for
Oh,
you.
yeah, right, right,
you
right.
you have to manage that for yourself. It is your responsibility. Now ideally we all want to be trauma informed and move in ways that are thoughtful and caring and considerate, but really we have to teach people to recognize and regulate their own triggers, and you have to be honest and know what's happening for you, and then you can ask for support, but it really is no one's responsibility. And then no one else can, I can't say it's no one's responsibility, but no one can hold that level of insight and regulation for you. They can co-regulate with you if you have a safe relationship with them, right? But and so what I'm just saying with your when you what made me think of that is post traumatic stress injury. Once you realize what's happening to you, you actually can have less and less symptoms. Right? Like because when you have these kind of anxiety disorders or stress disorders, right? Like PTSD is still in the family of anxiety, right? And it's the automatic response, the visceral response, the uncontrollable reaction that you have, right? So like something happened with a cigarette, you smell that cigarette, you instantly feel startled because that triggers a memory. That's an automatic thing. I can't stop that for you,
Yeah, yeah.
but I can learn myself coping skills to breathe through it, to talk through it, to say, this I'm safe, this is okay. I can reach out potentially for a peer support person to say, hey, co-regulate with me, but there still has to be an education around it, and then you can learn ways to support versus then projecting on other people.
Hmm.
And I think like that type of understanding of something like PTSD, or, if you want to, it, however you say it, there is an education component that we have to, like, we get to learn what's happening for us.
Hmm.
And then we can help reduce some of the symptoms expressions, because you don't have to have it forever. Like
Yeah.
we look at it, and that's why I like how you say injury. It's not forever. It doesn't have to be forever, or it doesn't have to be the same intensity forever.
Yeah. And to me, when I hear injury, I think healing. When I hear
Hmm.
disorder, I think medication.
And
I
you
mean,
think permanency,
yes, I think
yes.
permanent. It's like, okay, you have a heart condition, you have to take some medication.
Hmm.
But that's, yeah, so that, yeah, injury is just so much more
And maybe
hopeful.
even if it is permanent, if you have symptom management, it's not bothering you. It still lives there and you can still be mindful of it, but you have good symptom management, right? Like,
Hmm. Yeah, one of the things that, our philosophy since we started the whole idea of wellness here has been to give people, they talk about in the academy, and in every training, just about, they talk about the tool belt, right? The police officer's tool belt. And that's our whole, focus with wellness, especially with the training, is to give people the tools to be able to let them manage their own well-being,
mm-hmm,
because you
mm-hmm,
can't manage it, like you said, you cannot manage it for someone else, you can't change something for someone else. So that's the whole
right.
point, and that is why, you brought up brought up training several times, and that's why that is so important, is because that is part of how you learn how to, or, we try to get folks to learn how to manage their own well-being. That
Mm-hmm.
interaction with peer support, interaction with each other, feeling, cared for and trusted, and, all those things. I mean, it doesn't take a lot, but it has to be genuine and it has to be consistent.
And you want people to, I say that about even being on the commission. And I know, the commission is a very important role, but I'm like, we want leaders that can manage themselves and manage their teams. It's not this idea of oversight where it's like everybody's a puppet. That's not actually healing. That's not actually helpful. But you do want accountability and partnership. And sometimes you need that somebody that's a little bit removed so that they can give you some insight that's just like, you know, just like when you talk to a friend and be like, "You're not in my house. Let's see how you feel about this."
Hmm. And I think that word accountability is huge. I really do. And that was one of the things in the back of my mind when we were doing this work with the strategic plan was, how do we, how do you write accountability into something? And I think that was why it was important to spell out the the performance measures.
Mm-hmm. Let's
What
see. Oh yeah, on this part, which page is that? I like these here. Oh yeah, wellness program implementation checklist. This is great.
that, what is it? What is the expected outcome?
Mm-hmm.
What are you trying to do here? And more importantly, how do you measure it? How do you measure whether or not you were successful with goal one, goal two, goal three, whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second part of that is, so you've identified those. Now, who do you report that to?
Mm-hmm.
You just, put it in your desk and say, okay, well, I did it. No, that's part of the whole accountability thing is reporting out to whomever so that somebody knows that this is working. If you've got 3 staff people in the wellness unit that are, culturally competent and dedicated to the work, and they have the tools they need to be able to do what the tasks that they're given, then they should want to report out, to measure their success and report out with that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that is actually something that has been missing.
Mm-hmm.
And there are, we did develop reports to collect data for peer support, for critical incidents, for the manager of the wellness unit that were, supposed to be collected quarterly. So it's not like it hasn't existed. And peer support has done a pretty good, well, peer support and critical incidents. They've done a pretty good
And
job of collecting data.
And to your point, I think even in this strategic plan, I know this one is a final one, but like even in conversation, it doesn't have to be set in stone. It's like we make theories and assumptions. Like when you have this well, you were saying earlier, this leads to less this. Let's try it out. Let's just pick one or two things to monitor. You don't have to do everything all the time. Let's just start with low baseline. What do you think is happening with this from self-report, from your own personal experience? Like when I have peer support, I'm less likely to go have a drink
Mm,
or an extra drink.
yeah.
Like, like what are the things that the officers actually see getting in the way? But they don't want to like make it a big deal, but like just acknowledge a win. It's not to be punitive. It's like, hey, we recognize if I'm drinking socially, I'm drinking socially. But when I've had a hard day, I actually don't want to drink because I'm using that as coping. So, what did I do instead? How has this helped me? Instead of getting a drink to cope, I reached out to a peer support, or instead of, like,
Yeah, I went golfing. Yeah.
I did something different that actually maintained, sustained, supported my mental health. I went to the workout room and actually worked out. I
Yes.
realized when I work out 3 times a week versus 5 times, or on my off days, it feels better. Or I actually don't want to come in here on my off days because I really want to disconnect. So it's nice to go to the gym somewhere else or something,
Yeah. Right. Right.
something that helps track how do I stay regulated? How do I take care of myself? And how and I think maybe we could even monitor, like with the critical incidents, what happens when I have a critical incident, what do I realize I don't do?
That's interesting.
Right? Like I normally work out, but when I have a critical incident, I
Mm.
don't. Or I normally eat breakfast, but then I'll sleep in too late, or I'm late to my shift after that. Like, what are some indicators that
Yeah.
something has
That's
changed for you? And
that's
obviously, you give some space for it, but you want to, what are those things?
yeah. What I would never think of that. What is it that I don't do? Although that's really important.
Right?
Yeah, I don't get out of bed. I mean,
Right? Like, I
okay.
don't get out of bed, or I don't, I'm less
Yeah.
patient. My manners get more poor. Like one of the things officers get penalized on when they do something right is what's the I want to say decorum, but that's not the word. What's the word? Demeanor.
Uh,
So I would be curious to know, how does your demeanor get impacted after having a critical incident? Do you have less patience with people? Are you snappy? Are you short? Like, how can we support that? Or are you just a rude jerk? That's different, right? But if you're normally not this rude kind of person that doesn't understand power and dynamics, and then all of a sudden you got a demeanor complaint and you don't get demeanor complaints, and we look at, well, you just had 3 critical incidents, that's information that's really
yeah,
important.
yeah. And that takes me to the whole idea of top down, the fact that that our leadership has got to allow us to train our teams, our team leaders, our sergeants, our lieutenants, so that they are aware of exactly what you just said. I see this person is, the behavior is a little different. What's going on, you know?
Mhm.
And so just to be aware of that, and I mean, rather than have them blow
Just to
up out on the street.
Yes, just to be aware, just to have some awareness. And how do you start your check-ins? Like, what's my, you do this in schools a lot, you do this in therapy sessions, you do, what's my check-in? What's my baseline for today? Like, where am I? It doesn't have to be related to trauma or PTSD. We all just have bad days. Sometimes you didn't sleep enough, and so you're a little grumpy,
Didn't have
like
breakfast. Yeah. Nope.
sometimes you
Didn't
say,
have that
like, I
coffee.
sometimes you say, I'm at my capacity in other things, so I just have very limited bandwidth here today. Like, how do you then have this self-reflection, a space to check in about that, so that you're preventative and not responsive, like
Yeah.
responding on the back end. You could
Yeah.
be
Or
responsive to it,
reacting
but
to
like
it.
on the front.
Yeah.
Oh,
Reacting to
reactive,
someone.
exactly. Like not
Yeah.
being reactive, and then you're out on the streets. Like, and I don't know if they have this, because it might feel too witchy woo or touchy feely,
Yeah.
but
Honest.
it's better than getting having to go to these reviews for treating somebody poorly.
Right. And the other thing too is to have the requirement for the training or some way to ease wellness, the idea of wellness into testing for promotions. Because if you're going to go from an officer to a sergeant and you're going to be supervising people, you should be trained to be aware of these things. And the same if you're, from a sergeant to a lieutenant or whatever the case may be. And then also, and this is something that we did with procedural justice, and that is we wrote it into the evaluations, the annual evaluations. so that there were questions in there when the person who's being evaluated does their preliminary that they have to think about, because they're going to be asked about, you know, whether or not they see themselves as policing in a procedurally just way. Well, first of all, you have to know what that means, you
Mm.
know, and so that's
Mm-hmm.
a really important way to remind people. Yes, okay, it's only once a year, but to remind people and to check people and make sure they understand exactly what that means and they're practicing it. So
That's
even
so
things,
true.
it has to be, again, that whole organizational idea of organizational wellness, it has to be infused into other things. And with
Then
the
the chief
well,
has to buy into it, and then everybody else, like that has to be the culture. As if it's a culture of wellness and it's not looked at as soft or too touchy feely, but like, and you don't have to be overly like it's not a therapeutic session, obviously,
yeah,
but there
it's
should be
breathing,
some,
you do it every day.
it should be some investment in it. Yeah. Do you
Yeah,
think
and
let
Chief Beer is, he's totally invested. And I think I shared with you guys that he was the one that actually got me into the whole peer support thing. I mean, when we had the
mm,
grant, but I honestly didn't even know where to start with police officers. And that's who someone sent me to him and said he has been doing this since 2005. He's totally in support of it and he can give you some really, you know, and so I know he definitely supports this. Plus, he was a Marine for like 27 years too. That couldn't
yeah.
be easy.
I mean, I know. Let's look.
Yeah.
So this thing, so do you think, let me share this. This is the one I had draft memo I had did a while ago. Uh, do you think we should, can you see that?
Hmm.
This is the one I think you had, but it wasn't,
Yeah, it is.
didn't. Yeah, should we send this, add some stuff to it? I made a thing to this too, but so it says phase one training, education, stress. Provide an overview of current training provided to sworn and professional staff related to stress, trauma, wellness. Describe any supervisor specific trainings on recognizing and responding to stress, burnout, or behavioral concerns. Please identify how wellness related training is incorporated. Um, I think these things are important to
They
consider,
are. I
please
agree.
please provide any available training, curriculum, frequency of delivery and participation rates like that. We really need to know. Leadership practices. Please describe current leadership development or supervisor training related to workforce well-being. This is what you were just talking about, like how separately how our leaders just staying trained and engaged. Please identify expectations or guidance provided to supervisors regarding supporting staff under stress. Uh, any tools, protocols, or resources available to supervision to address wellness related concerns, and describe how consistency and accountability and supervisory practices are supported across the department. And then priority three, organizational conditions impacting wellness. Identify any department policies or practices intended to reduce organizational stressors. Describe how communication, transparency, and clarity of expectations are supported internally. Provide any recent assessment surveys or findings related to organizational climate. I don't know if that feels like a big ask, but how are they checking the climate? I'm not really that sure. Do you know?
Well, see, and that's why that's, if you notice on the checklist,
I saw
that,
it.
yeah, that's the one that has had nothing done. No assessment, no take the temperature of staff, all that. That's one that I think there's only two that have had made no progress. That's one of them.
Okay. And that was the one. And
Uh-huh.
then current plan efforts to address organizational factors. And the reality of it is like any social services, you can't just say we don't have a budget. So how are you going to deal with it with what you have? I think that's a beautiful question that we should ask. If you don't get a new grant, how are you still prioritizing wellness, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, provide a list of descriptions. Hi, Commissioner Farmer, welcome.
How's
Hey,
your
what's up,
car?
bro? How you doing? I don't know yet,
Oh
but
no.
it made it to the
That's
mechanic.
terrible, and especially when you know you have to be somewhere, and that's yeah, car trouble.
We
Yeah.
we were just looking at this one I sent a while ago to see if it's still relevant to send, and I know Barbara added some of this stuff to the final strategic plan. Um,
Hmm.
And
but
into
just
the
was look,
checklist, yeah.
yeah, into the checklist. But please provide a
Hmm.
list. And so I was just reading through, like, okay, where are we? Provide a list and description of current wellness resources. You did
Hmm.
some of that already. That's in that strategic plan. Describe how these resources are communicated to staff and how accessibility is ensured. That feels super important because I always think when I ask the questions, they often share at lineup at in the morning in the check-in. I'm like, that's a really quick check-in to be giving somebody training information at just at roll call.
And see, that's also that's why the position, the leadership within the wellness unit is or wellness program is so important because so what I do is I do something called Wellness Wednesday, and the only reason I call it that is because it reminds me to do it on Wednesday, and so every Wednesday, so there every month there is a theme. So Wellness Wednesdays, so it's physical. There's several different ones actually, and I just kind of pull from different places. But the umbrella for this month is physical wellness. And so that, that involves so many things. So every Wednesday I would send something out. Also, in all the elevators, I have the plastic frames, and there's two in every elevator. And so the theme goes in one, and then the other one uh, has tips for how to achieve whatever it is that the goal for the month is. And they're
Mm.
all different. I mean, if they're in 7 elevators and there's 14 different, so that you're there, and unless you're staring at your phone, there's something in your face that is about wellness. So that's another way. There's a uh, and we haven't been too successful at Eastmont with this yet because we keep running into technology problems. But we do have one in the wellness unit here that is it's kind of like a message board. It's an electronic bulletin board. And so things are just posted on there that
Oh,
constantly
okay.
run, about wellness. So those are some of the different ways that we're communicating with people that aren't really too labor intensive.
That's nice. That's nice. Commissioner Farmer, we were just talking about too, trying to figure out like, I mean, and it's not for us to necessarily do, but it could be some wins for OPD. Well, how did I say it, Barbara? What maybe like when they're tracking, like critical incident, is there a way to recognize like what is it related to? Like, in peer support. So we notice less of this or more of this, or like if I have a critical incident, I'm realizing I don't want to eat breakfast that week, or I don't like, how are you noticing that things are decompensating? Like, how is there language around that so that then there's a way to get officer support before it's been this long trajectory,
Hmm.
Like, how
Yeah.
are we
No.
teaching awareness, self-awareness to notice without it feeling all touchy-feely woo-woo, but it's like, hey, I realize I'm not sleeping as well, and like
Yeah.
how long do you monitor that? What's in the range of this makes sense versus, oh no, now it's a problem and I'm on medical leave?
And I
Right.
think
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I just was gonna say, yeah. No, I totally agree, and I think that part of that is like, um, I know that the goal is to get them to self-treat themselves, but not everyone is going to do that. I
Yeah.
think, I think like some people will, but they'll probably wait until it's too late, until there's signs and symptoms are maybe stronger.
One.
I
100%. That's why we're like,
like,
how could it be a culture where everybody does it so it doesn't
yeah.
feel like,
So
this
no,
thing?
yeah. So I just wanted to ask, like, instead of just like the line up, hey, making an announcement type thing, which I think is a good start. What about like making it mandatory for supervisors to do some sort of check-ins, and maybe train the supervisors to for their identification of different signs and symptoms that are big red flags, and maybe they need to track instead of having, I don't know if the training division or risk management or somebody is only the ones that are tracking critical incidents and what the types of critical incidents are, and what to do as a response. But like they all should be on top of that. Like one of the things with the NSA, one of the tasks literally, well, a lot of the tasks talk about changing up the management style for OPD basically, and one of them specifically says that how each supervisor is supposed to have like, or I think sergeant specifically, no more than like 8 people who report to them,
Mm,
and it goes into a little bit more detail about that. And that's straight up, constitutional policing best practices intertwined with this to make that'll help make this work. If those people are tasked with doing training or identification and like looking people in the eye, checking up on them, rather than
mm-hmm.
just saying making an announcement. Like that's a
Mm-hmm.
good start.
We,
But
yeah, that we were just talking about that before you came on. That exact
oh, okay.
thing, that it should be
Mm-hmm.
embedded in the training for, for promotions, that they are trained
Yeah.
to recognize those things. And, whether it's, sergeant, lieutenant, then the training would be a little more than was for sergeant. But what you're saying, that's the exact idea. I mean, that's exactly what we were just talking about. And the other thing too is to make all these pieces work, because one of the reasons, and I talked about Sergeant Cervantes, who's coordinating critical incidents and peer support. She is the one who recruited, vetted, and got through the approval process 30 people in 3 months.
That's really
30
impressive.
quality people that are now, waiting for peer support training. And so
Okay.
that's big. I mean, our goal has always been to have, 50 people in peer support critical incident teams at all times. We've never met that goal until she took that over. And so we met the goal now, but now our problem is, getting them trained. And it's not
Mhm.
because money or whatever, it's because of the process that we have to take the trainers, whether we've used them before or not, we have to take them through the contractual process. And so
So what?
we have to take
Yeah.
them through the contractual process. Yeah, they have to have contracts now, which could take 6 months, it could take a year. And and in the meantime, we have people who are not trained. And they
Yeah.
can't
No, I
actually
hear. Yeah.
practice until they're trained.
Well, Barbara, what recommendations do you recommend to put into the strategic plan to have them do exactly what we're saying they should do, regardless of whether and how far out the training is to be complete and the contract to be fulfilled and all that stuff? Like, what, in your ideal world would you want? And why don't we just put that in there? What your ideal, of
Mm.
what you would want ideally, and
It
that
would
can be
be
a goal
great.
that they strive to.
Well, because we don't operate in a silo. I mean, we do, but we don't. We do isolate ourselves, but we really don't. I mean, we are part of this whole machine that is called the City of Oakland, where there's payroll, there's contracts, there's purchasing, there's approvals of all kinds. There and
No,
so
no, I'm not saying to disregard any of that, but I'm saying that why don't we just put in exactly what we want into the strategic plan, and that could just be, a long-term goal.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how. And maybe it's part of it is too because I'm just very frustrated by the whole process.
Yeah.
When we have these people and you can't allow them to lose that momentum. I mean, we've been doing something every
Yeah.
month. I've been sending out trainings for them that are being, provided by, like we just did one on self-care that was provided by Police One, and it was free. It was a 3-hour training. It was very good, but it's not, what will get them certified.
So wait,
So
the
I wish
reason
I
why
could
they
answer that
haven't,
question.
they can't finish the peer support because of money, or is it just because you have all the people?
Because, well, I found the training, we had the scope of work, and this was a company that we've used in the past. And then I was, then the stumbling block was we couldn't hire them until they went through, we had to establish a contract with them and they had to go through the contractual process. And that is, I don't know if you've ever looked at that online, but it's a lot of paperwork and approvals and, all of that from different departments around the city. And I don't know, and I know there isn't really, I know there's staffing issues and all of that. That's part of what the lag is, but that's why we're not training them. That's why they have not, because the training was scheduled for March.
Wait, so
And
what's the why it's not happening? Because of
because we can't, the city won't allow the company, they won't pay the company to do the training unless they have a contract with the city.
Yeah. So you guys don't have a contract with anyone yet, even though you have the money set aside. And getting a contract could be up to a year process, right?
Could be.
So it's a year
oh well,
starting from now,
can
or
we
was it?
fast track it? Can we help fast track that,
If you
Commissioner?
But
could, that'd be great. What I have done in the meantime is,
We should be
uh,
able to fast track this. I mean, people are always
but
talking about officer wellness.
okay, but and then on top of that, like when did the time period start? I mean, is it a year from today, or was it a year from 5 months ago
the time period for what?
for like initiating getting this contract?
Did
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
you already started the contract
Yeah,
conversation?
well, I actually started with two companies. And one company, because it took us a long time to pay them when they worked for us before, hasn't responded with the paperwork yet. The other
Okay,
one is a 2-day training, which I'm not really crazy about, but it will get them trained. And then we can work on continuing education. It'll get them trained and it'll meet the post standard.
So what do we need to do to get the contract? Like, is there something already submitted to the city's contracting department? Because I
well,
think
no,
this is some.
Where
it
we are
sounds
is
like
we're working with the agent, with the companies. They have to do the work. They have to fill it out.
you guys are
Fill
you
out.
guys are you guys are still in the bidding process, basically, right? You're still trying to
Right.
pick the company.
Oh, we have two companies. We already have two companies. We just
So you
have to get
finalize
them motivated to fill out the paperwork.
so you finalize the two companies that you're going to work with. It's not out to bid anymore.
Mhm.
And they
And
have
they're
to
two,
just finish filling out the paperwork.
So it's not
basically.
a city of Oakland problem yet. It's the external thing. Because I'm like, what's
Well,
the holdup if we have that the fiscal year is almost over? We should get this
right.
done.
We'll never get it done in 2 weeks. But no, and I'm not trying to be negative, but because the one company, because they haven't had the best relationship with us in terms of us paying them, I think that's why they're dragging their feet. It's like because they know what this process is and what it's going to take to get through that process to do one training for $9,000.
Okay, before even getting to the training, so you have the companies identified, then they have
Right.
to fill out the paperwork, submit the paperwork, and then what happens?
then it all goes through a process of, kind of goes through a process of approvals back and forth. There's always
Can you get them to
issues.
fill it out while you're still here? And then me
I've
and
tried.
Commissioner Farmer could, on our end, advocate to try to,
Okay, but
you know.
Yeah.
how long does that process take though, Barbara, that you just were taking us through?
The last one that
After
I
the
did, the last one that I did took 7 months.
7 months after they submit the paperwork
Well, because
for it to get
there was a lot of
signed
going
off?
back and forth. There was a lot of waiting. I mean, they would fill something out and then it would get sent back for some reason, like, whatever. And so that was part of it. A lot of it was waiting because city was short staffed, and
What's
they're,
it getting sent back for? Because it's not filled out properly, or what's the reason? I don't get it.
oh, things like in the insurance documents, like the
Okay,
companies would
request for
send,
information. All right, okay. So they're
yeah.
requesting for information, but you've done business with these companies in the past, and they should know what to expect. Like their information should already be on file somewhere anyway.
Mm.
Well, I was told that the requirements have changed, because one of the reasons that I picked the one company was because we had experience with them. We'd used them before. We knew they were stellar in terms of what the product was that they brought, and they had customized it for OPD. So that was one of the reasons that I chose that company.
Mm.
But the training was over $5,000. So when it's over $5,000, you have to go through the contractual process.
Well, is there okay?
Yeah, I know. You know
So
what? I wish there was an easy answer. And the whole process for me is very frustrating because, and like Commissioner Booker and I were talking about earlier, there is no contracts person
Mm.
at OPD, so there really isn't anybody to help get us through the process. We're
what
pretty
about
much,
what about this? Can you divide the work between 3 companies? So then it's less than 5,000 per company.
oh, I
So you have to
wish.
go through it.
No, I
No?
wish. I mean, yeah, no. Because it's big, you can imagine it's very specific. It's, all detailed by post in terms of what the standard is, what they have to, learn, all of that. So,
But if you
yeah.
don't do something like that, then nothing's going to happen before January of next year. And then
And we can't,
you will
so,
have lost momentum. You will have lost the momentum of all the people that
Yeah, we need
started
to
to run
get
this
this.
rounded up.
So what can we
I agree.
do? What can we do? So this is not on us, it's on the external company to get some stuff back. Cause I think on our end,
Yeah.
if we have some conversations, we could probably make sure it happens. I'm sure OPD just being in compliance, like the word we don't like, but all of that, I think there's a lot of momentum around that. We could get the contract in motion, but we just need to get the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if they came in and said, "We'll do this training for free," it's a done deal. It's not a matter of them doing the training. It's not approving them. It's approving the payment to them.
That's fine, but
That's
if they fill out the stuff that they need to fill out, I'm sure we could advocate and get some stuff together. So if you could try to get that from them, because I know you'll be gone, it'll be 2 weeks. We could try to, I don't know how much power we have, but we could try to expedite it or get something going.
But
okay.
even
Well,
if
I'll
we,
push
yeah,
them then.
I agree with you, Shawana. But even then, if we're like, trying to keep things moving forward, it's still a like 7 month process, right?
Well, what if we just did
No, well,
something like,
wait, Barbara. So it's still a 7 month process
it
at that
doesn't
point,
have
right?
to be.
I'm asking her, Barbara,
What
what
now?
is it a seven? Is it still a seven
It
month
it
process?
can be. It can be.
Yeah,
So
I
there's
mean, if
no.
it's
up to 7 months.
expedited, I don't know. I don't know how soon it. I have no idea how quickly it could get through the city.
Yeah, I'm just what I'm saying. Like, you can't say like, I mean, it's stuff say it's a year, it's this whatever. I think we could. That's the whole point I'm trying to say. Almost get it sped up, or can we do something where somebody that already has a city contract subcontract these people to do it and worry
Oh, that's
about that.
interesting.
Like we could,
Yeah.
like we have a bunch of contracts already. So they subcontract to these people, get the shit done. We have the money, we have the contract, and we make it
Ooh,
happen. That
I
might
like
Yeah,
that
speed
there you
it
idea.
go.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's because I do know that we do some of that. I mean, I know we do it with other police agencies for different things.
I mean,
Let me
people.
call contracts tomorrow. I'll call contracts tomorrow and see if that's a possibility. That's a really good idea.
Well, yeah, and you would have to talk to someone who you already have a contract with and make sure that they're willing to do that. But maybe you have a contract with a lot of
Mm.
companies. Maybe they have a previous working relationship with these people or something. So
Yeah,
I don't know why they would say no. But I mean, anything that would speed up the process, yeah. Up to
that's a
No,
7
really
months
good
is a long
idea.
time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, short of, somebody doing it for free is like,
no, yeah, but
that's
I mean,
the
that's
second
just,
best
like
idea.
that's just the basic kind of thing, when you work with so many bureaucracies, like this is the kind of stuff you just kind of got to think of. Like we do it, you subcontract to get past some of this stuff. Cause I mean, and especially if it's already funding in here for this year budget, we want to spend it down. So
Yeah,
we don't want to lose it. And
yeah,
we don't want to lose momentum either, taking way too long
right.
through contracting. And I'm pretty sure, I'd imagine everybody that is in support of OPD will support moving this along. And it's for wellness. It's not for extra
Yeah,
guns. It's for their mental health. It's,
and
so I think that's a priority.
the way that we respond to the community instead of reacting to things that are happening. So that's the
Exactly.
important thing. And the fact that these are 50 people that can monitor our staff and say, that doesn't look quite right to me. Maybe, I need to talk to him or whatever.
Exactly. All right,
Extend a
great.
hand. Yeah.
It's 7:12, y'all.
Um,
I gotta get these dogs situated.
uh, so for our next meeting,
We don't
um,
have, unfortunately, this Thursday. It's not going to be
can't
quorum.
believe that. Well,
I
that's
know.
So
okay. They have our product. So
so at the next
um
commission meeting on the 25th, is that when we're going to present it? And are we still going to try to finish the
We're
two
gonna,
policy updates?
now I'm just,
yes,
y'all just getting this off the press. Omar, there might have to be a special meeting or something else. So I don't know. We'll figure the details up the next meeting out.
Okay.
But
But regardless, are we still trying to do the same things that we said we're trying to do? Whenever the police commission meets again, uh, we're ready to do the strategic plan at least,
yeah, it
and
was
yeah,
on the
then
agenda.
and then if we're not going to meet again until the 25th, are we still going to be on track to update the two policies that we said we want to update?
I'm working on proposals right now. The one is just an update, so and I've got a number of things done with the one on peer support and critical incidents, and I have an outline of the one for wellness, and I've looking at three different policies, from PERF, IACP, and then San Diego's policy. San Diego, yeah, San Diego's policy to pull something together for the wellness policy. So I really do think by the time we have our next meeting, we should be able to have a discussion about the policies based on what's on paper.
Okay. All
I
right.
mean, if
So
we need to have another meeting before then, that's fine with me too. I
okay.
need
Well,
about a week though.
all right, but our next wellness meeting is on a Monday night when after the agenda is going to be posted for that week of the meeting on the
Mm.
25th. So the only thing that's going to be in that agenda on the 25th right now is going to be the strategic plan. So when do you want us to provide feedback to the policies?
Can
Do you
I just
think that
send it to
all
you?
okay, so yeah, send it to us.
I
And
mean,
do
can
you
we do
think
that? I don't want to violate,
yeah,
anything that.
I just want to know if you think that we can do all the updates by Friday or Thursday the 18th. That's the last date that we have basically before the meeting on the 25th to have it done. No, neither
No,
one
I
of
don't
them.
think so. That's a
Okay.
really heavy lift. I mean,
Okay. All right, then we'll
yeah.
just plan on doing the strategic plan, I guess, at the next police commission meeting, and you send us what you want us to get feedback on, and we'll do as much as we can in between now and then.
And we can
Yeah,
make
and we
you,
want it to be right, not rushed. So that's totally
yeah,
fine. Don't feel
yeah.
bad
Yeah,
because I
that's
mean,
why I'm asking.
policies are a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to rush it either. I just wanted to ask to see what was
No, I
doable.
appreciate that. I totally appreciate that.
Okay. All right, and then you're gone at the end of June, right?
Well, actually, okay, I'll say this to you guys. July 7th. I actually
Okay.
walk out the door on July 7th, but I,
She's
I
willing to stay
have.
on the ad hoc because the ad hoc is
Okay.
open to the public.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's
so
great
we'll,
because the
we'll
next.
talk about that at the next meeting, but I told her, that I mean, these policies to me are very important. And so that is something that goes hand in hand with that strategic plan. And the OPD takes policies very seriously. So, and having the police commission co-sign these would mean everything. I mean,
Okay.
in terms of us actually getting something approved, which we've been trying to do for a while, and it hasn't happened. I mean,
Okay.
no, through
And then
no one's fault. It just is staffing issues. It's always,
yeah. Okay.
so.
And then the next meeting after that, I guess, is Thursday, July 9th. Um,
Oh.
I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here either. So, uh, but I'll stay on
Well,
the ad hoc. But
yeah. Hopefully a while because I mean, we got two commissioners out now. We don't have quorum. So even if they put two, we still need.
well, they're talking about just filling all 4 positions
It
right
wasn't even that
now.
many people.
They got now they're I don't know. That's what they said. That's what I was told. But
Well, I
either
hope we have an
way, I'll
opportunity
stay
to
on.
finish this, because part of the problem that exists right now with the policies that we have is hitting the reset button. So,
Yeah,
it'd
don't
Yeah.
be
worry.
nice if
I'm
we
not
could
going to go anywhere.
finish
I'm just
this. Yeah,
well.
with all
I'll
three
stick
of
around
us.
until it's done.
Okay, great. And then I'll be on my A game then.
Oh, you
All
guys are
Cool.
right.
wonderful. I absolutely appreciate you so, so much.
All right. See y'all
All
soon
right.
then.
All righty.
Okay.
Good
Peace.
night.
Bye-bye.